Coach Ken Semelsberger. Coach Semelsberger started his coaching career at Detroit Servite. He has coached at St. Clair High School, Warren de La Salle, and at Port Huron High Schools. He has served as the director of the Michigan High School Athletic Association, been elected to the Detroit Catholic League Hall of Fame, the Port Huron Sports Hall of Fame, and the Michigan High School Coaches Association Hall of Fame. Most humorous incident in coaching: giving my team at Servite my all-time very best rah-rah pregame speech and having them charge out of the locker room and get on the bus for the 15-minute ride to the field. Coach Semelsberger's biggest thrill in coaching: winning the very competitive Catholic League at Servite and beating Divine Child, coached by Bill McCartney, who went on to coach at the University of Michigan and at Colorado. Ladies and gentlemen, the newest member of the Hall of Fame, Coach Ken Semelsberger.
Well, 10 down, 4 to go. So we're getting towards the end. First of all, I'd like to thank the High School Football Coaches Association. This was totally a surprise when Mike Boyd gave me the call and said I was going to be inducted. I couldn't believe it. I'd also like to congratulate the other inductees in the class of 2013. It's a great honor I have to be part of this class. Growing up on the east side of Detroit, I was one of 8 boys, raised by, mostly by my mother, Clara. She had to put up with us. We lived in a house where the first guy up was the best dressed, and the last guy up was scrambling. So, and we got a lot of hand-me-downs. My father passed away when I was 7, so she had to raise 8 of us. I was the 7th out of the 8. And so I want to thank her. She's no longer with us, but I know she's smiling down on her boys. So she was my biggest fan, along with my brothers, who were my fans. I'd like to thank also, I'm not going to get emotional tonight, I promise myself, my late wife, Margaret, who passed away, and blessed me with 3 wonderful children. My oldest son, Kevin, lives in Arizona, where he's a teacher. My daughter, Michelle, who's also a teacher, lives in New Mexico. I couldn't convince them to do something else. They're both teachers. I have a special son, Keith, who lives with us, lives near us in a group home, and he's the joy of my life and the joy of the lives of everybody he touches. I would like to thank Margaret for the great job she did of raising 3 wonderful adults, because I certainly wasn't around much to do it. I also want to thank my children for living through and braving through the summers when I played Mr. Mom. And they survived that, me doing the cooking, the cleaning, as my wife worked during those summers. I was also fortunate enough 3 years ago to marry my current wife, and she's allowed me to continue my love of coaching, to continue coaching my wife, Debbie. She promised, I said, don't you make me stand up, so I'm not going to make her stand up. I think the most important thing in coaching, wins and losses are great, and championships are wonderful, but the most important thing is the relationships that you make. Relationships you have made over the years, whether with the coaches that you coach with or against. I know when starting my coaching at age 25, I was given the job of head football coach at Detroit Servite High in the Catholic League AA division, and I looked around and said, what the heck am I doing here? And coaching against guys like Jim McDougal was at Shrine, Bill McCartney was at Divine Child, George Zahedi, Tony Versace, Dick Comar, Mike Rhodes. The list goes on and on. As a matter of fact, my first game as an assistant coach, we were playing at Tivity High School, and the Tivity High School had a couple coaches. One guy's named Woody Woodhoffer, and the other guy's name was Lloyd Carr. So if you didn't come prepared, you went home early. I don't know how many nights I came home after the game. We normally stop at a local establishment and discuss the affairs of the world, and I'd come home with napkins stuffed in my pockets with plays written down. The defenses, so-and-so ran this defense, so-and-so ran that defense. We're trying to figure out how to win the next game. I'd also like to thank my coaches at Servite. Jack Carroll. I'm going to mention a little bit more about Jack a little bit later on. Don Sloan, Mike D'Angelo, Jerry Catalina. My college coaches at Wayne State. My assistant coaches at Port Huron. Guys like Mark Law, Jim Ratchie, Bart Mishiak, the late Bart Mishiak, and John Schneider, among many others. The relationships with officials, yeah, it's hard to believe. I really have relationships with officials. We're friends, some of us. It's hard to believe that. Not during the game, but after. With administrators, with secretaries, teachers, custodians, reporters, parents, and players. You know, what a great field we're in to just come in contact with all those people and develop relationships with them that they love and they trust you forever, and hopefully you love and trust them forever. The most important though are the players. Their friendship, the relationship we have with them transcends time. I have a few former players here tonight. I've been lucky enough to be head coach at 2 schools. First one was at Detroit Servite. Sometimes you leave the cupboard full, sometimes you leave the cupboard bare. When I came to Servite, the cupboard was full. I had some great players, some talented players. A couple of them are here tonight. First of all, we have a running back, and these guys have become my lifelong friends. Vince Biondo is with us tonight. He came all the way to be here tonight. Thanks, Vince. My first quarterback, Steve Zielinski, and his wife, Carol here. By the way, if you're in Detroit, off Woodward Avenue, Paquette, stop at Z's Villa. Give a little commercial, Steve. Great place to eat. Go there before a Tiger game, they'll shuttle you to the game. Lions game, they'll shuttle you. In fact, we were just there, they shuttled us to the play at the Fisher Theater, so they'll take care of you. Also, another, growing up on the east side, had a number of friends, and one of my friends had a little sister who grew up and became my little sister. And my first day of teaching, I walk in the classroom, and I walk at the first desk, there's a young lady sitting there, she goes, "Hi Kenny, how you doing?" I said, "No, you can't call me Kenny here. Okay, it's Mr. Semelsberger, we're here at school." She called me Kenny the rest of the time anyway. And that's Margie Gablick and her husband Tony are here, so I appreciate them coming all this way to be here tonight. For my teams at Port Huron, there's a couple gentlemen here who played for me who have gone on to become very important people in the city of Port Huron. First of all is our assistant superintendent, Eddie Kindle, played for me at Port Huron High School. I want to thank Eddie for being here. The second player that played for me at Port Huron High School is now the head football coach at Port Huron High School. And when I retired from being athletic director, assistant principal, I was principal for a year and all other things I was doing, besides I was coaching in there once in a while, he asked me to come back and be his offensive line coach. And he's done a tremendous job with the program at Port Huron High School, especially the last 3 or 4 years. We've been to playoffs the last 5 or 6 years in a row, so Ryan Mullins has done a tremendous job. And also from Port Huron is a gentleman who had to put up with my driving. He was principal at Port Huron High School for many years. I was the athletic director there, and he was a big supporter of our programs. So on Friday nights, he'd jump in the car with me and brave my driving at 80 miles an hour. He said I went at one speed, 80 miles an hour, no matter what it was, and went with me all over the state to watch games. So our superintendent of schools, Ron Lee. Thank you very much. I'd like to also introduce a special lady here tonight. As I mentioned earlier, my father died when I was 7 years old and my mom raised us. And I lost that father figure in life. Well, in 5th grade, I went out for basketball. With this body, I was a basketball player. But anyway, I went out for basketball. I met a man by the name of Jack Carroll. Jack had played football in grade school with one of my older brothers. And Jack became my second father. He was my mentor, my inspiration, and I remember the day I was assistant coach at Servite High School, and the head coach had called me like at 4 in the morning and says, "Ken, you got to meet me at school at 6. What am I going to do at 6 o'clock in the morning? Anyway, go to school and meet with Jack Carroll, and the gentleman's name was Mike D'Angelo, former Hall of Fame. And Jack Jack turned to me and said, Mike told Jack, I'm leaving Survey to go to Lakeshore as head football coach. Jack didn't say another word, he just turned to me and says, well, you're the new head football coach, what are you gonna do? And that was my first job as a head football coach. So Jack not only became my friend, my mentor, became the godfather to my oldest son, and we hated him when we played for him. He was a bastard, like as I said before. We wanted to knock him off the sled. That was our goal. On all the linemen, we get together and knock him off that 2-inch sled and kill him. But we weren't able to do it. And him and his wife, Mary, have become so important to me and my family. Jack passed away a few years ago, but Mary's here. So I'd like to have Mary and her nieces, who are 3 special people. Okay, Donna, who, by the way, is keeping us all in business. She has 11 children. Linda and Joanne. I'd like to have them stand and be recognized. I'd also like to mention one of my players is here, and he was elected to the Hall of Fame 2 years ago, 2011. And that's Tom Barberi. Tom played for me at Survey also. And there's many, many more people I want to thank, but they said keep it short. I'm trying to do that because my nickname at school is Mr. Microphone. So we're going to stop there right now. I'm going to leave you by giving you the entire speech of a friend of mine, a gentleman by the name of John Herring. John Herring is 90 years old, was being inducted to Michigan High School Coaches Hall of Fame. After listening to 10 or 12 of these speeches, John knew what he was going to say. John walked up to the podium and said, be good to your children. They determine what nursing home you're going to go to. And went and sat down. So with that, I want to thank the association again for this great award, and thank you for being here tonight.